You haven't said anything.
I'm thinking.
Well, you don't buy the idea?
I do. I'm just weighing it.
She's business savvy, and I think bringing her on board for the online bridal store site won't be such a bad idea.
She is business savvy, but she owns a boutique. I mean, I don't know whether she can co-run an e-commerce company. You know what you need? You need to get yourself a lawyer. And I'll get one for you.
But she's family.
That's my biggest fear.
But you and Sam...
But guys...
How sexist can you get?
You know how women get. I'm just saying.
2. You know how women get. I'm just saying. Dede is thinking of going into business with Carrie, her best friend. T's first suggestion is that she get a lawyer. When Dede says, but you and Sam work together without all of that, T, without a moment's hesitation, says, quote, you know how women get. I'm just saying. End quote. Dede calls it sexist, but does nothing. She just moves past it like he didn't say nothing. There's something really good about this scene, and it's the fact that we're reminded that if a guy is a nice guy, he can get away with saying sexist shit. The problem is not the sexist things that people say. The problem we can now see is who said it. If Andrew Tate said, quote, you know how women get, I'm just saying, we'd all be up in arms. Fuck him, he's an alleged abuser and a trafficker and misogynist, blah, blah, blah. But it's T saying it, so he gets a free pass. You know, he's not like the other guys. He doesn't mean it like the other guys. We don't realize that it's the ideas, the beliefs, the attitudes themselves that are dangerous. We imagine that it matters who's saying them when it really doesn't. All that matters is the reinforcement of the idea that women can't get along, can't work together, and it's always going to end up in this huge fight. Men, we're told, are better at this whole friendship thing and making shit work. No drama. Except it is women who have strong relationships and men who are drowning in the alleged loneliness crisis. This demonizing of women and female friendship is crucial to patriarchal success. Women are supposed to view each other as potential threats, competition, and sources of drama. When women internalize that message, they isolate themselves, creating a perfect environment for abusers. When women talk, it can save their lives. When I was reading about the early women's rights movement in the US, I found that they just meet in each other's houses and talk. And in talking, they found that they had the same problems. They realized their home issues were not unique to them. It wasn't them as individuals. It was a systemic thing. It was something about men, masculinity, patriarchy, and all of these systems of dominance that are always at work. This is what happens when women meet and trust each other and talk. The exact thing the patriarchy doesn't want. It was women who started domestic violence shelters in their homes, hiding abused women and children from abusers. Even now, it is women who rescue their friends, mothers, sisters, cousins, grandmothers from abusive relationships. But the patriarchy hates that, and so female friendship, female relationships must be demonized at all costs. Diamond Platnumz has a song I love called Nita Regia. It's one of his old ones. In the song, he promises his wife that he will go to the big city, Jerusalem, and work and bring back the money for her and the kids. His wife says, when you get there safely, remember us, and that you've left your wife and kids under troubling conditions. She sings, unapokwenda kama ukifika salama, utukumbuke na sisi. Kumbuka mkeo na wana nyumbani, umetuacha na dhiki. Then he comes in some kind of parting shot and says, vile usijali ila naomba chunga sana, ogopa na marafiki. He's saying, don't worry, I hear you. Just one thing, be very careful about friends. But the word he uses is ogopa na marafiki, which is literally be afraid of friends. In the next line he adds, he's not going to believe their lies. Here, we're obviously talking about her friends and the danger they pose, the lies they could potentially spread and ruin Diamond's relationship. Everywhere, female friendships are demonized, made into this thing we should be afraid of and preemptively protect ourselves from, such as using a lawyer in Dede's case. The only people who benefit from women perceiving each other like this are men. That's it. Abusive men in particular. Back to T and Dede. The writer knows that this is a sexist sentiment, we know it's a sexist comment that demeans female friendships, which is why Dede says, quote, that's sexist. We're supposed to relax, chill the fuck out, now that one of the characters has pointed the problem out, even though nothing is done beyond merely pointing it out. This is a technique called lampshading. Lampshading refers to a situation where a character calls attention to a cliché or an illogical element, or in our case, problematic behavior in a scene, usually in dialogue. The writer does this as a sort of wink or nod to the audience saying, I see the issue here too, man. I see it. They acknowledge the issue, diffusing criticism and sometimes even injecting humor at the same time. I mean, if they say they see the issue too, then there's no reason for us to raise a stink about it, right? Criticism aborted. Plus, the audience feels like they have this shared understanding with the creator. Win-win. Unless you're concerned about the issue being resolved, in which case it's, I guess, win-win-lose. I don't know. Ours is a win-win-lose because I actually care about the fact that T continues to hold these beliefs that are at the heart of women's exploitation and subjugation. Sexism is not benign. Sexism is discrimination or prejudice based on gender and is rooted in the idea that women are inferior and men are superior. This is at the heart of all the shit women have to deal with, from being catcalled to femicide. It is all rooted in ideas about the inferiority of women compared to men. The reason T doesn't balk at being called sexist is because we have this idea of sexist men being aggressive, violent types. That's not always the case. There are two types of sexism, benevolent and hostile. T is of the benevolent variety. He believes in gender roles that position men as providers and protectors of women. His group is kind to women and believe women are vulnerable and deserving of protection. The problem is, it's all still rooted in women's inferiority and subjection to men. It's all a tactic and a cover to keep holding on to these beliefs while looking like the good guys. They continue to hold deep-seated sexist attitudes towards women and can be just as harmful as their more aggressive counterparts. Harm is not synonymous with violence or aggression. This group causes incredible harm, even when they are not aggressive or violent. If nothing else, they continue to promote those regressive gender ideas just with a nice sheen to it. They have no intention of changing the gender dynamics that situate men at the top and women at the bottom. It's also important to remember at this point that men who hold on to traditional gender dynamics and roles are more likely to be abusive. Hostile sexism, on the other hand, openly says women are incompetent, inferior, manipulative, overly emotional, and not suitable to hold powerful positions. Men, on the other hand, deserve greater power than women, are suitable for these powerful positions, and the power they have is maintained through controlling women's sexuality. Women are supposed to be under men's control. This is the exact logic at the root of abusive behavior, including coercive control. It's rooted in traditional gender roles and stereotypes and is responsible for classics like sexual harassment and domestic violence. We are far more familiar with hostile sexism, can easily point it out, and thus have less tolerance for it. This is why benevolent sexism is so dangerous. It skates by unseen and challenged. They hold the same views about women's behavior and their position in relation to men, but the T's of the world are just nicer about it. Also, research shows that these nice men can quickly switch from benevolent sexism to hostile sexism if the woman turns out to be the wrong kind of woman. So, women deserve protection until she no longer wants to have sex with him, and she deserves a provider husband until she refuses to be a submissive wife. That kind of thing. The T's of this world are dangerous, extremely dangerous, because they're not as easily spotted as their violent counterparts. In the Carmichael show, Gerard Carmichael talks about how he misses the old racism, where white people would just hang Confederate flags and you'd know right away not to fuck with them as a black person. He jokes about how now you can't tell because white people are hiding in plain sight. It takes longer to know that you're dealing with a dangerous one. That's T and other benevolent sexist types. It just takes you longer to know that they're dangerous. But they're no less dangerous than their white sheet-covered counterparts. For this reason, I would dump T, nigga, with the quickness. I don't fuck with nobody that holds on to traditional beliefs and gender roles rooted in the inferiority of women. How on earth could I possibly be with a nigger that holds these kinds of views? Not me, babe. Fuck you again, and vaya con Dios, you single motherfucker.